Kelly's Court is back in session. On the docket today, the special prosecutor in the Trayvon Martin shooting case, Angela Corey, who you see here, is not happy with certain critics who have blasted her handling of George Zimmerman's prosecution. One of those critics appeared right here on America Live twice. Alan Dershowitz, the famed criminal defense lawyer and Harvard law professor, says that Ms. Corey called up Harvard Law School and threatened to sue the university and Mr. Dershowitz during what he described as a 40-minute rant over comments Dershowitz has made about this case, comments like this. You are now saying that if anybody should be criminally charged in this case, it is the prosecutors. Why?
Well, first of all, anybody who is involved in a shooting should be investigated, and perhaps there should be charges against Zimmerman. So let's put that aside for a second. But this affidavit submitted by the prosecutor in the Florida case is a crime, if she, in fact, knew about ABC News's pictures of the bloody head of Zimmerman and failed to include that in the affidavit, this affidavit is not the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
So can the Florida special prosecutor really sue Alan Dershowitz and Harvard Law School for libel and slander? That's what he says she is threatening. Or is this a case of sour grapes? Joining me now, defense attorneys, one-time prosecutors, Arthur Aidala and Mark Eiglarsh. Gentlemen, welcome to you. So this is fascinating to me. First of all, with all due respect to Ms. Corey, Arthur, a little thin-skinned?
Yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous. And just, Megan, just so everyone's on just up and up here, I know Professor Dershowitz. I've worked on cases with him. I would love her to sue him because
so would he.
He would have a field day with this. I mean, and it's bad enough for her to criticize him, criticizing her, but to go and call the teacher, so to speak, to call the dean's office and start complaining about him, it's absolutely ridiculous. And what he says, and the way he said it on your show, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, it strikes to the heart of the matter. He's very upset that she never put in that affidavit that there was evidence of injuries that could be equated to self-defense type of injuries.
Right, because to get the charges brought in the first place, she filed an affidavit of probable cause. It was signed by her investigator, but it is a product of the district attorney's office ultimately, and he believes it was full of half-truths. Now, it definitely didn't tell the whole story, Mark, and it didn't include exculpatory evidence for Mr. Zimmerman, evidence that would have helped Mr. Zimmerman, but it had a little disclaimer at the bottom of it saying, you know, more is going to come. Is that good enough?
I think it is. And let me just say this. While I don't know Dershowitz personally like Alan does, I absolutely, Arthur, I called him Alan.
That's okay.
I absolutely think, listen, he's wonderful. He's a wonderful professor, and Arthur as well. However, and many of the things he says, by the way, in this case are accurate. I agree that probably second degree is not the appropriate charge. Some of the other things that we're seeking justice for Trayvon. No, you're seeking justice for everyone. It's not just about one person. However, I do think he steps over the line. I don't think there's a lawsuit here, but I do think he stepped over the line when he says that it's a crime, what they did in that affidavit. They do have to provide all the exculpatory evidence to the defense through the discovery process. But in this affidavit, the sole purpose is to lay out those elements of the crime that establish probable cause. That's it. I don't understand where he's coming from when he claims that it's a crime and they should be prosecuted for this affidavit.
He really does believe. Listen to a little bit more, Alan Dershowitz, and then you'll pick it up, Arthur.
Right from the beginning, the prosecution knew that Zimmerman had bruises in the back of his head. They knew he had a broken nose. They had access to the full-face photograph. They knew the forensics. They just submitted false affidavits and generated the media frenzy. The finger of responsibility points clearly at the prosecutor. She raised expectations by politically indicting Zimmerman for second-degree murder when there was never any basis.
And he says it was gamesmanship, Arthur, for her not to reveal some of that information to the court until after it found there was probable cause to arrest this guy or to charge this guy.
Well, Megan, how about this? I'm hesitant to say that Dershowitz is right because I could be sued next, right? In other words, if I say he's right, I'm doing the same thing she's saying Dershowitz did, which is criticizing, really technically criticizing the way she went forward on this.
That's his opinion. How does she even arguably threaten to sue him over his opinion?
There's no libel. There's no slander. lawyer. Harvard is backing him up. He's able. The truth is an absolute defense. It's only if he said something that was factually wrong.
Right.
Like if he said she just guessed about this. Or then he's vulnerable.
Opinion is protected. He is allowed to give his opinion that she committed a crime in his view. And that could also be a colloquial expression, like it's a crime. What she has done, according to him, is to call up Harvard and threaten to sue Harvard Law School, try to get Alan Dershowitz disciplined by the Bar Association, and threaten to file charges against Dershowitz as well for libel and slander.
I agree she shouldn't do that, but I can understand her frustration. Let me explain. For sure, more details should have been included in that probable cause affidavit so we can get a more fair view of this case. However, it's not the obligation of the prosecutors to include everything in there. And what he's saying is she committed perjury. His explanation for perjury is that she only gave a portion of the evidence, so that's a half-truth. A half-truth is not a full truth, so it's a lie. And if you lie, it's perjury. But if that's a stretch, and that's misleading, Mr. Dershowitz.
No. Here's the thing. If you speak to Alan Dershowitz...
No, that's it, Arthur.
No, if you speak to Alan Dershowitz, he gives you the case law, the site where it says a partial truth is a lie. It's not like he's doing this off the top of his head.
So wait a second. It's not like messing with just anybody.
Hold on one second here. So it's his testimony. There's law that says that law enforcement officers and prosecutors must include every favorable detail in the arrest affidavit. So now we're talking about what, 200-300-page arrest affidavits from now
Mark,
on?
I think
there's
a reasonableness. In other words, something like that self-defense evidence that has to be presented to the judge.
It doesn't have to be in there.
Good debate.